BB851, turn right heading 180. 14 Papa, turn right 245, report localizer established 26.
It's been a very turbulent period for the South African flag carrier and national airline known as none other than South African Airways within the aviation industry. While they've certainly been a carrier that has yes struggled tenfold thanks to the emergence of the global pandemic, they're also an airline that was already in a position of difficulty before the emergence of this said pandemic. In fact, they have been struggling throughout the 2010s, and that subsequently led into the 2020s. And by September of 2020, saw the airline unable to take it anymore. With a cash reserve that had been used up and no longer the promise of additional funding coming from the government, the administrators of South African Airways put the airline under a thing called care and maintenance, which definitely has some meaning behind it, but really to generalize it, it means that the airline's operations ceased with immediate effect. However, it does not mean that they shut forever though, and that's why today, almost a year later, we've finally got some incredibly positive and also exciting news regarding the future of the South African airline. Before we get onto that though, let's stay in and around the midway point of 2020 and take a look at those couple of months prior to the airline seeing operations cease, as they're incredibly up and down, and ultimately saw the airline seemingly get its restructuring approved by the administrators that yes would allow it to actually continue its operations, only for days later the government to completely disagree on the plan, as they weren't at the time committed to injecting more funds into the airline, which I think on the surface, and say even if we were to go deeper into the airline's turbulent past, does indeed make sense. A government is not going to continue to inject funds or even approve additional funding being used, where if for say the past decade, those funds have not taken the airline into a better position. This means that essentially the business is no longer profitable for the government to be investing in, their money can be put elsewhere. Even for the government, they could look at launching a brand new carrier that would say be cleared of all this debt. That could be another alternative for them. But I think you can totally understand the positioning from the government when it came to giving that money to the airline. They would chew that up, nothing would change, and they would come back asking for more. However, where there's negative news, there's usually always some positive news, and in recent days we've had that. The airline has secured a renewed operating license from the South African Civil Aviation Authority. This is a crucial, and I would like to once again reiterate, a crucial step into getting back into the skies. And while they have acquired the operating license, it doesn't just mean operations will begin, say, immediately. While the past year of restructuring and also obtaining funds, and then also being put in a better position, will aid them on their return to the industry, hopefully, a date has not yet been given. However, it was quoted that their return would be in the coming weeks, rather than say us waiting months for the return to operations for South African Airways. The airline's fleet has been reduced substantially, with now the total aircraft barely sitting in the double digits. These are the aircraft that has parked currently, and that could only likely drop down further as the airline reappears into the world, and I would say that it'd be doing so at a far reduced rate, and hopefully it can get itself in a better position as it returns to operations, and then from there they can look at building a strong international network if that's where the government and also where South African Airways wants to take the airline in the future. Or they may want to be more of a niche airline within South Africa. We'll just have to wait and see. But if you have any thoughts on the airline securing a brand new renewed operating license, feel free to drop it down in the comment section below. And as always, thank you so much for the continued support. I will see you tomorrow on the channel for the next video.